Hey Kim, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Are you in LA right now?
Yes, I am. I'm in the greater city of Los Angeles.
Are
Yay!
you are you are you wondering why, just like I'm wondering why it's so gloomy and cold out? It's supposed to be June. It's supposed to be summer. I'm looking out my window and it's gray and cold.
It is the most disappointing weather that I've had since I've been to LA. I mean, listen, LA is known for it never rains in Southern California. They have a whole song about it, and it is like gloomy. It's very unpredictable weather. It's really interesting what's happening
Yeah.
here.
Yes. So we have this thing, as much as we're complaining about it, there is this thing that we Angelinos call June gloom. There's gray May and then there's June gloom. But this May was grayer and the June was gloomier than any other year in the past. And people keep saying it's going to be a hot summer. It's going to be a hot summer because we had a rainy winter, but whatever. Here we are. We're in the same city, but we're speaking virtually. And I have all of my sound bites. Our listeners know that I have sound bites. So, Kim, when you say something amazing, the audience is going to clap for you like that. Or if I ask you like a really hard question, I can do this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. See, I don't even know how to use this thing. I could do this. Okay, there you go.
Love the
So
sound
this is our
effects.
new. Thank you. This is our new platform. Okay, I'm going to introduce you. You, for those of the audience who don't know you, and I'm sure there's not very many. You're a celebrity hairstylist. You're a beauty expert and entrepreneur. You're the stylist behind Beyonce, Halle Berry, Rihanna, just to name a few. We don't like to name drop here, but I'll go ahead and say that. You're the star behind the TV series LA Hair. You're currently the head of the hair department of HBO's TV series Euphoria. And you have a product line called Kimble Hair Care, which is extremely impressive. You have a ton of products on there that I definitely want to talk about.
Mhm.
But I want to start with just, where you're from and how you got into this business in the first place.
Yeah, well, I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and we moved to Los Angeles, and I'm a third generation hairstylist. My mother did hair, my grandmother did hair, so I come from a dynasty of hairstylists. and
Hmm. So did you do the
that's how I
whole,
got in.
working in the salon at 10 years old stuff?
Listen, I've always had time. Even when I wasn't working there, I was spending time in the salon because my mom just had me there. Or if she was doing my hair, of course, I'm there in the morning, but I'm the last client to get my hair done at the end of the day. So
Of
yes, and then
course.
I started shampooing in the salon at 16 when I started going to beauty college.
Okay. So was there ever a point at which you're like, I don't want to do hair?
um,
I mean, in the
yeah,
early
there was
days.
a
I mean,
point.
as a
Yeah,
young,
early
as a
on.
young.
What it really was is that I was going to say I was going to work myself doing hair, work through fashion school because I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to do hair and pay for, make a living doing hair, and then I'm going to go into school and become a, fashion designer." And I worked for a designer, and his name was Duvall at the time, and I worked for him. And I was started sewing, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I like sewing very much, but I loved watching the transformation of doing people's hair. They come in one way and they leave looking a certain way, and then they have this whole personality change in the chair. Then I felt like, oh, I have purpose. This is great. Then and I started understanding I could design hair. I could do. I could fulfill myself. Because I can help make people feel good about their hair and themselves, and and I could also have, there were so many different things I could do in hair. So I just fell in love with it. And then I kind of, pushed fashion design to the wayside.
Did you go to school for fashion design?
I never made it. I actually worked under a fashion designer and I decided this really wasn't for me. But I did do my first fashion show at 18. Got put in the local newspaper. It was the Sentinel newspaper. 18. My design made it in there. I designed a whole collection. And I thought it was really
That's
cool.
that is super cool, especially given that you didn't go to school, you didn't commit to multiple years of education.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of nice that you went to work for Duval and you recognized pretty early before going to school that you didn't really want to do that. And you found your true passion, which is nice that happens. Sometimes people go to school, a 4-year college in some cases, and they study XYZ, and then they get out and they're like, I don't want to do XYZ. And they just spend all this money.
It's not that I didn't like it at all. It's that, I just fell in love with doing hair. So I just got into that. And I think I found that I could design because I used to do hair competitions. So I would design early on in my career. I went to like hair shows and I started wanting to compete in fantasy hair competitions. So I was still creating and designing like these avant-garde hairstyles. And then I would also design the costumes for for my models and things like that. And so it became, I guess I feel like I did the same thing kind of, but in a different way. And then I'd also present it, to people. So it just had the same kind of feeling. And I think that I just got satisfaction in what I was doing. So, and I always felt like I could always pick it up later if I really wanted to do it. But I just fell in love with hair and it became my life, my goal.
Totally. So then you're like, I want to go to hair school?
Yeah, I was going to hair school. Actually, I went to hair school before I did the fashion show because I was 18 when I did the fashion show.
Got
I
it.
started going to cosmetology at 16. Yeah, but I always said I was going to do hair.
So what you thought was,
and once I got my license, I would work and pay for my school for fashion.
to pay for fashion, and lo and behold, you liked hair more. So then did you transition into a salon at a certain point?
Yeah, so I started working in a salon and I started building a clientele really quickly. So much that I stopped doing college. I left college after the first semester because first of all, I wasn't interested in anything there. I just wasn't. And I just felt that, I really loved doing hair. It just became, and I started educating myself in hair. I started taking classes here, classes there, learning how to cut. So I wanted to learn every different thing about hair and see what I would do. I mean, I started taking cutting classes from Vida Sassoon and Tony and Guy and just whatever classes I could take, creative hairstyling, hair color. I wanted to learn everything because there's nothing I didn't want to know how to do. And that was, I got so into and I loved learning about hair. So that's kind of where I stayed there and I haven't stopped since.
Okay. Well, I mean, those are good ingredients for success, aren't they? I mean, you have the passion for it to the extent that you love to learn about it. And of course, those things are going to equal, you being a great hairstylist, your clients, you giving your clients what they want, your clients coming back to you, being willing to pay prices. And I'm sure you're increasing your prices throughout that period of time and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, and all this was in Los Angeles. You're working in a salon in LA.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So when did you transition from being a full-time behind the chair hairstylist to being in the entertainment industry and, whether in front of the camera or behind? And in which one was it first? Were you behind the camera first or were you in front of the camera first?
I was behind the camera first. I mean, I started off, I got my first opportunity because I volunteered to do hair because I was only a couple of years in the salon. And I was volunteering, to do hair for this church because they were raising money. And it was for a play that was produced by Robert Townsend, who was a movie director. And I got that opportunity and stayed in contact with one of his assistants, and she helped me, get into the business through him and his team. So one time, but so in the meantime, after the play, it took me a couple of years. I opened up my own salon, and I kept in touch with her. And then she called me one day and asked if I had any avant-garde hairstyles, or did I do any of that kind of work? And I had pictures of work that I had done because I used to compete in Bronner Brothers, Hair Wars, Proud Lady, fantasy hair competitions. So I didn't know how crazy hair she wanted, but I had crazy hair. So I sent her that picture, and I met with Robert Townsend, and make a long story short, he hired me to come work on the film Baps, and I created a lot of the hair and wigs that Halle Berry wore in the movie. So that was kind of
Amazing.
like my Halle Berry moment.
Amazing.
And so that was in that. And then I got into the union and film and television. And interesting
Yep.
enough, my mother moved to California from Chicago because she'd heard of a woman who worked in film and television, and she'd always wanted to be in that business. But it was very difficult at that time to get in. So she never got in. And plus, she started getting into other stuff and just didn't really focus on it as much. But she kind of embedded that I should get in. So that's
Okay.
how I knew what to ask for when I got that opportunity. I said, I want to work in, I didn't know people got their hair done on television and film. But so 1990, it was 1996, as after I opened my salon. So I was 4 years in the business when I got in the union to work on film and then from that point on, I just started working with different clients and working with celebrities. I had a salon at the time, so we started having a lot of celebrity clients at the salon, and I started going from film to television. Oh, sorry.
So I just want to point out a recurring theme here. And I'm loving your story, and I hate to interrupt, but you're going to keep going, and it's going to be fascinating. So I don't want to lose this point for the audience, because it does recur in the conversations that we have with successful people in this industry, and that is oftentimes the really good stuff, the special stuff, oftentimes comes from giving, right? So you essentially gave during the hair competitions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they don't pay you to be in a hair competition. Mm-mm. You're giving your time, you're donating your skills and to this hair competition, essentially. And of course, you're getting from it. You're learning and experiencing things, and you're getting exposure. And then here you are, you're donating your time to your church's play. And that was just out of your own benevolence, your involvement with church. You didn't think about, what am I getting paid for this? What am I going to get for this? Is it going to be worth my time? You weren't keeping score from a financial sense. And these are the things that put you in a place that presented these opportunities to you that allowed you to get in a very special place in this industry.
Yeah. And for me, I'm a faith-based person, so I'm definitely a believer. And I even looked up certain things because I studied kind of when it comes to business. I guess King Solomon, who's in the Bible, who's David's son or whatever, and because he was supposed to be one of the richest men in the world, and he has all these business practices that he did. And one of the things in business is that giving. You have to give. And you reap what you sow. So I think that I would totally believe that, giving is a great way to open up a door to receiving things. And that's, for me, I mean, you said it is a recurring thing, and I saw it actually happening. And even through my career, I always had plenty of business, plenty of work, and so much that I would give to my stylists and people that worked opportunities and help build their careers. After my career just blew up after that, I got a chance on a film to work with Beyonce and Mary J. Blige and Shakira and all these people. And I had just a plethora of clients coming in the door and jobs. And so I would give a lot of the jobs to my staff and people who worked with me. And I just never lost because I always kept giving. And I think that is definitely an important message for people out there, because I know I see a lot of times people don't understand that things take sacrifice, it takes time to build, and it takes a lot of work to get to a certain position. I put in a lot of time in the beginning, learning, uh, working on my craft, because also preparation. I was preparing for something great. I had been praying for it. I was preparing for opportunity. When the opportunity came, I was as ready as I could be. Now, yes, I
Mm-hmm.
learned some things in the moment, but I prepared myself for something because I knew I would. It would be beyond the chair that I would go, not just behind the chair. I was going to grow, and then my career took me all around the world. I was traveling with clients because I started working with Beyonce on a movie. I met her on a film. The same people
Okay.
who hired me for BAPS, I worked on a film called Carmen Jones with her. And then the next thing I know, I'm traveling all over the world. I'm working as her personal hairstylist. I'm helping to create things and learning and growing with her as her career grew. There was just so many uh, great opportunities I had, and I never lacked anything. So because I feel like because I had my hands open, I was giving like to
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Come on, all everybody, let's work. Let's do this. Things
Mm-hmm.
move so fast, and
Yeah.
one of the things, if I could also share that the one thing maybe I may not have done that I would recommend people do when they finally are growing and getting to the goals of what they want is to enjoy the process, enjoy the moment, because it moves so fast. And those days will never come back. It's always something different and new, but those days are gone. So while you're there, enjoy the process. I enjoy the learning and growing. But when I started getting to where I want, it just happened so fast. I just didn't take the time to smell the roses and
Mm-hmm.
understand, because now I can look back and go, wow, this, especially when I'm doing interviews like this and I'm talking about it, it's like, wow, we did this, did that. And it just happened like so fast. I didn't really, some of the places I was traveling, it would have been great to really take some time and experience those places like I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great to look back and see the accomplishments and the goals and the things and the opportunities and the learning experiences. Um, but
Yeah.
really enjoy it, because I think that a lot of people, I just find that they get do stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like complaining about doing this, and I'm not getting any sleep, and I'm not doing. But this is what we asked for. This is what we want. So
Mm-hmm.
take the time and enjoy it.
Yeah. 100%. And so a couple other little gold nuggets that you just dropped were, the first one was the preparation, that you were prepared when the opportunity, when you were I guess, finally, for lack of a better word, confronted with the opportunity. You were prepared. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. And kind of similar to, on a daily basis, trying to track where your time is going and are you getting appropriately paid for it, instead of maybe thinking about it from a standpoint of what am I contributing to the community, what am I giving, is the issue of preparation. And you think to yourself, well, I'm not going to spend money on this education or spend the time on this education because it's not going to benefit. I don't see how it's going to benefit me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But really, preparation is something where you just build a foundation over time, isn't it? You
Mm-hmm.
get the education over time. You kind of commit to yourself to slowly and consistently gain a foundation of knowledge. And it may not be clear how it's going to pay you back immediately, but having that foundation is going to allow you to take advantage of those opportunities when they come. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've had this another theme. We've done about 300 episodes, about 5 years, and a couple of those episodes in there somewhere is the same tidbit, and you just can't say it enough. The second one was enjoying the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And those who like motivational quotes, I'm sure, have been inundated with, yes, it's all about the journey and not the finish. And that's easy to say for the person who's like standing at the top and all that stuff. But it's so true, because if you're not enjoying the journey, then it makes it so much harder to be on the journey. And then, yes, with the hindsight that you talked about, looking back, and you're like, I should have enjoyed that more. And I think this to myself all the time, whether it's being a parent with kids, and in the moment, it's like, oh my God, or somebody please take these kids away from me, right? And then the older people in my life are always like, enjoy those moments, because those are special moments for those kids, with those kids. With your career, it's very much the same. There's stress involved in your career. There's the waking up early that you talked about. There's the unfun things, and everybody has this. If you're trying to do important things, there are elements of it that are not fun. You mentioned earlier the sewing element of the fashion design. I'm sure that there's a lot of elements of being a fashion designer that are not fun for a lot of those periods of time. But I guarantee that fashion designers who have made it, they look back and they relish those days when they were sitting there and, with the sewing needle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so a couple of things I wanted to say was that knowledge is power. If you put in the work, the money will come. You don't have to even, listen, people still wanting hairstylists, and there's not enough hairstylists to do the work, at this point. But I will say that, you put the work in, and, that is a process that I enjoy learning and educating myself. I do enjoy that part. And again, like I said, about the journey, you can't get those moments back. It's not coming back, but you learn, because I say that because I watch so many people get to a point where they want to be, and they're just unhappy, and they're just so bitter. And I've watched that, and I'm like, dang, they didn't take the time to smell the roses, I think, and they're not appreciating what they have and what they've done. And gratitude is important. Always be grateful, and always know that things will always change. Nothing will ever be the same. You think, oh, this is going to last forever, and this is going to be like this forever. No, but there's all levels of change, and growing pains, and all those things you have to really figure out, okay, what's next? What's going on next? Just like, listen, if any lesson learned out of that, look at technology, where it takes us. I remember when they had payphones, and now I couldn't live without my phone. You know what I mean? Before they had it. And so always staying on top of what's happening and moving and growing. The hair industry has completely changed from when I started. We're talking a 30-year span of me working in hair business, and the majority of it entertainment. So much has changed. So you got to also be ready for change and roll with change and move with change, because that's where we are. Even the hair business has changed. You can do so much in hair now. You can become an entrepreneur. You can work in television and film. You can work on runways. You dress hair in those storefronts. I mean, there's so much you can do. And now there's digital hair things you can do, like have podcasts, you can do digital products. I mean, it's just, we have the internet, we have so much. There's just so much change in this business. So really having that open mind for educating, because again, I said, knowledge is power. You have knowledge, you have something, you can always do something with it, whether you create your own. Oh, I finally got applause.
I was a little slow on that. Sorry.
Okay. But I will say that, I really, really, truly feel that, like this business is always, and that's the one thing about hair. I love it so much because it's always something new to learn. It's always, I love challenges. I've had so many challenges in the business, and I love working through those challenges. It's something I thrive on,
What you talk about change like it's a positive thing, but I think human nature has many of us dreading change, or they feel like change is threatening. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm one of those people. I get very comfortable. Like I have people, friends, and or I'm just comfortable with like doing something. And listen, everything's changed. People don't like. For example, when I first got into business, we had to walk around with books, portfolio books, when you were trying to pitch yourself for jobs, and you had to ship those all around the world, like a whole portfolio, right? This is what I know. Then all of a sudden now, they look at Instagram pages. So now I've got to learn how to. People don't book people like that anymore. They want to see what you're doing on the gram. They don't care about your book and your work of book and all that, and that you work so hard to put together. It's changed. It's not like that anymore. And so people are afraid of new things and learning new things or doing something different but change is constantly through our life, constantly. And yeah, there's some things like some people change, maybe a lot of people might not know this yet, but people my age know that even age, your body changes. And this speaks to hairstylists too. Like when I used to be able to stand in a salon and do 20 or 30 people a day in my salon. When I was in my 20s, I did it. I got it in. I did some hair, baby. There was hundreds of people coming through the salon getting their hair done. And then I was also working on sets too at the same time. So during the week, I'm working on sets, and on the weekend, I'm in the salon doing. Well, after so many years, my body's like, this, wear and tear. With people not realizing it's coming as a hairstylist. So make sure you take care of your body, do your exercises, get your massages, love on yourself, because one day your body will say, no, not anymore. If you don't really take the time to do these things, if you're just standing in that one spot, not eating properly, not taking care of yourself, not giving. Now, when I travel and I'm traveling, first thing I do is I find out where's the massage. Where can I get a massage before I start work, or when I'm finishing? I'm going to get a massage while I'm on that trip because I need to rejuvenate my body. I need to come in the day early, get some rest. It's like but I was just saying, people don't realize, but that's a change. I honestly, I can't do 20, 30 people in a day anymore. That's over. Yeah. I'm no longer trained for that.
It's such a good point. I don't think that there's enough discussion in our industry about physical well-being. There's a lot of discussion about mental well-being, especially the last 2 or 3 years. And certainly before, before COVID, but not really enough about physical. Now I've kind of thought that for a number of years, but the only thing that I've done about that is I did one podcast with a nutritionist where he spoke about maybe the best ways to, go about your routine as a hairdresser. Somebody who's behind the chair maybe skips lunch, during the day, super busy hairstylist, like you're talking about doing that many people, you're not taking an hour lunch. So, what are the best ways to treat yourself, to treat your body if you're doing that? And of course, there are hacks, there are ways to do it. But what should you eat for breakfast? And what should you eat, what should you snack on during the day? Anyway, we did an episode on the Hair Game podcast about that, but we really haven't done anything else. And you've kind of given me some motivation to find an expert and do something about the whole physical thing. And you're 100% right. Another issue there is getting disability insurance. We've made it possible to get discounted disability insurance through Aflac at Salon Republic, and I know that a lot of people have taken them up on that. And a lot of people haven't, though. But it's a very, very important thing, because if you get a carpal tunnel or any number of things, you get a pinched nerve in your neck, all the stuff you're talking about, kind of.
Back.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you can't work. You can't work, and what are you going to do? So you have to think about those types of things and give yourself some peace of mind, and longevity is really, really important. And if you can do that, you can have a really good long career. So, I mean, what about you now? Like physically, well, maybe I should just say from a career standpoint, you've got all sorts of things going on. Maybe you've got we're kind of truncating the story, your story, but you were talking about being in your salon. You've got a lot of celebrities coming in because you've gotten exposure to the entertainment industry. You got those opportunities. You were prepared for them in advance, so you took advantage of the opportunities. People recognized you in the industry. In the entertainment industry as being somebody who really knew what she was doing and could deliver and was very professional. So guess what? When that happens, you start getting a lot of recognition for it and your business grows. So you've got celebrities coming in, you've got normal clients booking you out, and then you start branching off in all sorts of different directions. I mean, now you've got a product line with an amazing website. You were in front of the camera all of a sudden with LA Hair, and then you're the lead on Euphoria. So I mean, what does your daily look like at this point?
Well, I'm glad that you said that because change. This is change. So my career has shifted where I had to close my salon during the pandemic because it just, and I was actually going to try to come to Salon Republic. But what happened, because I said, once I closed my salon, I needed a place to work, And so what I did was I actually, because at the time I was doing a lot of television and film projects. So I just kind of went back full time into doing more of that. And then it also gave me an opportunity to work more on my entrepreneur endeavors, my hair care products. I also launched a wig line with Hair You Wear. So during the pandemic, we were working on creating wigs and extensions, and I have also a love for creating products and developing products. It's still part of that design. It's still fulfilling a lot for me because now I can make clients happy with products. Maybe I may not be able to do everybody's hair. But after my TV show, I had a lot of followers and fans for hair that lived all over the continent, and other places in the world. Yeah. And so, people that may not have been able to come to my salon, then I said, well, maybe there's a way I can create products and be able to help them with their hair needs. Again, to make a long story short, it was another way of fulfilling what I love to do. I'm just as excited about, and it comes at a good time because physically, no, I can't stand in the salon for 20 or 30 hours anymore. It's not happening,
Sure.
But now I can, but it's opened the doors. That's when you had to understand, okay, it's time for me to change my career and God opens doors for me to do other things. And it's been really great to, again, not only make products, but and that's another new challenge for me. So I'm learning how to do that. And also in the middle of that, things change on how people market the products. That's why it's important to learn about social media and how to, because now that's a new way of marketing and branding yourself as a stylist and products and entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And I just want to add something to the tail of what you just said. The marketing of products, the marketing of anything, particularly products these days, is so sophisticated. And, we've got into it, at Salon Republic, of course. We've got 24 locations. And so we want to be thoughtful about the way that we market. And we want it to be a proper reflection of who we are, et cetera. But it's become so digital and consequently so technical. I don't know how deep you get into it, but it is there's a whole different language.
Yeah.
It's not just like cost per click anymore. I mean, it's an entirely different language. And of course, it's run by Meta and Google, and they have written new languages. And if you want to do well, you need to learn the language. And it's like, okay, so you need a full-time marketing professional because you can't do it on the side.
No. I have to say it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I have to say it. It is, but it is a learning experience every day. And I luckily I have a 23-year-old son who
lucky,
extremely smart. Yeah, he's an athlete. He plays basketball. Now he's no longer playing basketball. He's done with college, and I've learned so much just from him because his generation is the new generation, and he's taught me a lot. He's very knowledgeable about marketing and things like that. So he's taught me so much that it's on a whole nother level of what I even understand because I'm not from his generation. They grew up in Google and they talk Google language. They talk all of that language in social media. That I have to learn somewhat from him. Thank God. Everybody has like someone in their family who's knowledgeable, especially if they have younger kids or teens they just somehow know how to work with it better than us.
Right.
But it's extremely important now. That's why I said you have to be open for change. It's painful because I don't want to learn it. I don't. I just want to do hair. I don't want to learn how to do the social media, but it's definitely a necessity. And that's like you said, growing pains because it's painful to grow and to learn. Sometimes, it may cost you something, time, energy, money, and plus people. I don't like people are not comfortable with things they don't know. They're just not comfortable with it because they don't know and understand it. So I just think that. Everything has changed. But, one thing I do know how to do is I know how to make products. I know how to do hair and develop wigs because I spent a good majority of my time making wigs for clients, for film, for television. Even when I did hair competitions, I used wigs. Wigs was a big part of my career. And it's something that became one of my specialties, because it's something I love to do.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that we see in the industry is somebody's been successful behind the chair, like you were, and they get some notoriety, and then they want to do 27 different things to take advantage of, their knowledge and their success and their notoriety. How do you pick? You can't do all 27.
Right.
So how do you know what to pick?
Well, that's why for me, I had to, when I closed the salon, because I was doing a lot at the time. I was working on sets, traveling, running a product line. It was a lot. And I got very little sleep because I had so much to do, But, and then also, too, you can't do all things well. So you got to kind of figure out, you could do a couple of ways. You can do a list of pros and cons. If the list of the pros are longer than the cons, that's kind of where you want to be. I also worked with a company and did a whole kind of assessment through businesses and what I had going on, and long term. So I was thinking of what is going to work for me the best in the long term. What can I physically do? There was a lot of reasoning behind making decisions on what to cut out and what to keep. Yeah, so for me, you get like people say you trust your gut, and but also too, you can definitely do some due diligence as well and look into where things are. Where's your passions now? Yeah.
The gut isn't this. I'm glad you brought that up. There are often these kind of platitudes that are around in culture, like trust your gut, and I think you can trust your gut if your gut is properly informed, So I don't believe that the gut is some magical thing that, shines down a magical answer to things that we don't want to really think long and hard about. I think that the best way to go about it is to inform your gut, put in the effort to learn about a particular situation, if it's, door A or door B, and you can't go through both, and you have to go through one. Learn as much as you can about both doors. And then, that's going to inform your gut. And then, of course, you're going to have some instinct and stuff about your history and experience. It's going to kind of guide you, sure. And I think that's probably what most people are thinking about when they think of the gut. But I think what you want to avoid is just kind of being lazy about making a decision and just say, I'm just going to go with my gut, and not informing yourself first.
Yeah, definitely do your due diligence, and sometimes you have to look and see what's, what may be more profitable, what's maybe not as profitable, or where the business is going, looking to see what's happening.
Yeah,
The one thing I'm not afraid to do is take chances either, though. I will take a chance, but you do have to do it smart, and you have to, like you said, inform yourself and don't be lazy. You got to do the work. And I always believe faith without works is dead. You can believe all day, but if you don't put the work in, you don't have anything to work with. Like, just going to come out of the sky. No, it doesn't just happen that way. You definitely have to put, I
absolutely.
mean, listen, I don't think that miracles don't happen. It could happen, but like me, when I got my opportunity, I spent a lot of time educating myself before I got that opportunity. I had the experience of working in a salon for 4 years before I got that opportunity, which set me up for what I was going to do next. Because on television and film, you have to know how to do a lot to design hair and a look. You have to somehow get your hands in there and get dirty and learn what, even in a business, whatever you do. Like for me, yes, I've had people come and help me do what I do, but I know how to do everything. I know how to manufacture product. I know how to, what, it means how to get resource labels and R&D. I know how to, I've been sometimes to the factories or the labs and have watched the process. I think it's important for us to know, even if you're not going to do it yourself, but to know how it's done. And so I think having that knowledge is important, however you get it, whether you go to college and get it or
Absolutely.
you learn up under someone, a mentor or
Absolutely.
something.
Absolutely. Boils down to the one thing you said, put in the work, don't be lazy. When it comes to, you may not be the one doing the thing at the factory, but you better know how it's being done because you got to hold somebody accountable. And if you're not, then that one person you put in charge could screw up and it could sink the whole ship. So let's, since we're talking about that kind of stuff right now, products, etc., talk about all the different products you have on your website, because I was just expecting a hair care website that had, wet products, shampoo, conditioners, etc., but it's more than that. Talk about all the things that you have.
Yeah. So on my website, you can find that not only do we have products, and before I get into that, I just want to say a lot of times I create products that solve problems for my clients or me, or people or others, whoever the consumer is. It's really about problem solving for me. And that's how I started making products, because I would see a need for my customers of what they needed. And you can find web products, you can find tools, you can find silk. We have a line of silk nighttime hair care, things to kind of wrap and protect your hair, and also to style your hair, but it's all 100% silk made products. You can also find our link to the wig site to buy wigs from us. We did a collaboration with Hair You Wear on extensions and wigs, because I know wigs have been big in the industry, and a lot of clients, especially during the pandemic, became wig wearers because they've had extreme hair loss because during the pandemic, because they didn't have anybody to go to, or they just want to look good, on Zoom, or they needed, a quick fix when it came to their hair, because a lot of people, weren't able to do their hair during the pandemic. So we worked on creating a line of wigs for clients that they can put on, that's already cut and styled for them, colored and everything. So, and that's something I've always wanted to do. And I had a lot of, clients, because our salon became known for extensions and wigs. That was sort of our, our thing, because I was in the industry and worked with wigs a lot of people came to me for wigs because they knew, oh, you made wigs for this celebrity or that celebrity, or, you did, and they said, they look so natural, real. I want, to have that same quality of wig, because, people
Yeah.
can get wigs anywhere, and it's been
Right.
around for a while, but I think people came to me for it because they wanted that look that they saw on TV or in the music video or over here. So those are some of the things that
Absolutely.
you'll see on my website. Yeah.
Super, super cool. Are you still behind the chair sometimes?
Yes, I have a few diehards that are just like,
Hanging on.
that will come to me. Yeah, I have a a little space that I work out of, and I have a few diehards that'll come, but most of the time, I travel to my clients because I do mostly like red carpet stuff. They're going somewhere, or they have an appearance here or there, and so a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole glam team that get them ready at their place. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of so very seldom do that I do in salon work anymore, only because I've grown in these other places. I've grown in, being more freelance, working, on movies. So that takes me out of the salon quite a bit. And so the
Right.
consistency is unfortunately not there for those customers. And I'd rather them find someone that's consistent.
And that is the conflict, right, between working
Hmm.
on set or doing something like a website with products and those other
Hmm.
demands that are tugging at you, and having a book of clients, because the book of clients
Hmm.
that they want to book out sometimes 6 weeks,
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
8 weeks, or at least certainly a couple weeks. People need to know what their schedules are like, and working on set, that's not the kind of thing that you can
Yeah.
know what you're doing 6 weeks from now. You have to be flexible and nimble,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the
Yeah.
decision I had to make that, okay, I can't. For a long time, I tried to do both for a very long time. I did because I wanted to satisfy my clients. And also, you never
Mm-hmm.
know. Like right now, there's a big strike happening in our
Mm-hmm.
industry. Uh,
Right.
so there's no work happening. So you have to have other things that you can do.
Right.
Right. So that's why I was like, oh, I miss having my salon right now because I could be in the salon right now while this strike is
Right.
happening, and who knows how long it's going to go. But luckily, I do have my other things at my product line and some other things that I can do in the midst of it. And it's also good to have the time to work on other projects. So now I'm working on other things that I've been wanting to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so but that's kind of why I always wanted to do both. But it's very difficult to do both. It really is.
Well,
Well, exactly. You can do it, but will you do it well? What's the
right.
quality in that? I got tired of disappointing clients and not being able to do what they need to do.
And if you're not doing it well, it becomes less fun. Assuming you enjoy
Stressful.
all the different elements, it becomes stressful and less fun, certainly, yeah. If you could wave a wand and change anything about the hair industry at all right now, what would it be?
What could I change? Uh, I would change the conditions of uh, oh God, this could take me this could take a minute, but I don't want to. I'm trying to figure out how can I condense this down and not make this a whole thing. But I could change. I feel that I wish that things could be stable in certain things, like the community. There was more community in the business, in every business, because and again, it's hard to explain it because I just don't want it to make it a long drawn out thing. But like, I'll give an example. Like in the industry, there's not enough education and community of us communicating together and working together as a team. Because, for a perfect example, I'll say maybe 10, 20 years ago, what hairstylists made was much more than what they make now in terms of certain industries, right? New people come in, they don't learn, or maybe they don't have people out there mentoring enough. They don't know what to charge. So, I see some corrections, people trying to keep because we want to stay at a certain level when you get into business. You don't want to see your, your rates going down. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I just think that we need to communicate. Like, we need more communicative type of, like, almost like unions, you know? So we know this is what we charge collectively. We're here. This is what we charge so that we could all stay at a good level. So it's because I've seen sometimes in LA, the salon business declined a little bit. I think a stylist was not encouraged to because the prices, you know what I mean? A lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the community you're talking about. I'm talking more in the multicultural space.
Okay.
That they charge so little for certain things that I don't
Mm.
think that they're, and then there's no, um, like you guys have a great system because you have insurances and possibly even retirement plans. Luckily for me, because I'm in a union in television film, there's a retirement plan, there's certain things. But listen, I think that I could even do better and do more. So
Yeah.
I mean, like when it comes to like a community, like a organization that will help, and I'm sure there's some out there, but maybe I just don't find enough people know about it or
Yeah.
they're involved in it. But there should be a communication for us so that we can understand that we are, we have to look at our future. We have
Mm.
to price things right, but we have to talk amongst each other so we're not undercutting each other here and over there, like or
Yeah.
people doing the hair at home and not
Right.
really, it all has to kind of work together so that the business can stay flowing properly for
Yeah.
hairstylists. Because in LA,
For everyone.
it's tough in LA. I've seen a lot of salons decline and go down.
Yeah. It is very difficult. I hear what you're saying. It is a very individual thing. Clients like their hairstylist, and so two hair cutters can't cut the same head of hair at the same time, right? So it's a very individual thing. And because there's so many people in this industry, about 1.2 million is the last number that I got in the United States. There's such a flow of information from so many different sources. You can choose a primary community if you want, like let's say Hairbrained, right? Hairbrained does a good job. Gordon Miller is, our listeners know Gordon pretty well. Gordon recently left Hairbrained, but Gerard Scarpesi, our listeners know Gerard well. They've done a pretty good job of creating a community, and there is the positive messaging in there. It's certainly what we try to do on the Hair Game podcast for those who like to listen to podcasts, is to create the positive messaging of know your worth. Certainly, I beat the drum of keeping upward pressure on your prices and quality of services and education, all that kind of stuff, nearly every single episode. So the information is out there, but it's out there coming from many different sources, and people can choose where they're getting their information from. It's probably not just one, but it's probably several, and there isn't necessarily coordination of message, which is kind of a natural element of just kind of the fragmented nature of our individual type of an industry. So that was just my way of agreeing with what you said. But so it can, yeah.
I was saying it almost like what I'm thinking, because I know the information is out there, but it almost needs to be like a union in a way. It would be
I'm
like
sorry, what?
If they had a union.
Yeah. There are
Because
kind of. I mean, if you look at and I know it's not like the guild that you're in and entertainment industry is in, but in my experience, I'm the chairman of the Professional Beauty Federation of California. Have been for about a year and a half. I'm a member of the Professional Beauty Association, the PBA, which is kind of the big national one. And there are several others, organizations out there that have tried to do a sort of a unionizing element. In other words, like getting members and then in giving benefits, right? That's what we try to do at the PBF. That's what the PBA tries to do. But with every single one, they've never been able to get any substantive number of beauty professionals to actually join and participate. And it's to their great frustration. I say their great, it's kind of to my great frustration now, but for the last many decades, it's just hard to gather a bunch of beauty professionals together and be willing to, pay, even if it's $10. I mean, the Professional Beauty Federation of California, I think it's like, I don't even know. It's like $20 a year or something. And people are just unwilling to do it. And the amount of benefits that are given is enormous, but just people are unwilling to do it. So, that's it's hard to remedy that. And the PBA, they're the biggest one, and internally they complain to me all the time. It's just hard to get hairstylists to join and commit long term.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. That maybe that's what when you say change, that you kind of summed it up right there.
Okay.
Because that goes in so many other areas as well, even in a salon, to get people to, come together, let's stay together, let's work together, let's do, what I mean? All of that.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, that's what, if I could change something, I would change that. If I could wave a magic wand.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be so much better for everybody in the industry.
Totally agree. And look, I was saying a lot during the COVID times when I became active against the state of California when they were shutting us down, and no other states were shutting down like we were shutting down, and the weakness of our fragmented nature became apparent. Because we didn't have a lobbyist in California. Actually, technically we have the Professional Beauty Federation of California, which ultimately opened up salons when that organization, who was partially run by an attorney lobbyist, sued the governor in 2021, opened us up in that January. Our listeners who are diehards know that well. But we were very weak compared to restaurants and compared to the entertainment industry and compared to many other industries that had political strength. And we don't, because our participants are unwilling to pay, any amount of money to join an organization. And so that was difficult. And so at the end of the day, there were just a couple people who had to make things happen and threaten, politically and to open up salons.
Yeah. I wonder if there was some kind of they use influencers to help people to educate. Because I think, listen, in our union, you got to pay $6,500 to join. I paid when I started, it was $4,500. Now it's $6,500 to join our union. But it's clearly something that they see out of it. I think that what the PBA is offering is extremely valuable to hairstylists. I think it's going to take a big effort of educating them, bringing them in, and maybe having some influencers talk about the benefits of what they're getting, because what they don't see is the future. In the future, you're going to need, luckily, because my union, we have insurance. You're going to need insurance. You're going to need a retirement plan. You're going to need all of these things. And the more people that get in, the better your benefits can be. Like our union, our benefits, we have the best medical, but because, we have a ton of members, people that are fighting to get into that union. So I think what PBA is that since they have that platform, I hope that it can work so they can continue to do it, because I feel like hairstylists need that. And maybe that's why some people are trying to get out of the business because they're frustrated and don't understand, I don't have anything to help, set me up for the future. Well, there is something out there. You just don't know about it, or you need to be educated properly on it.
Exactly. And again, one of the great frustrations is we try to educate and messaging. And just a lot of people don't open the email, or they think that the PBF or the PBA is trying to sell them something, or they're just jaded from a marketing standpoint, and they're suspicious constantly of any sort of marketing that they're getting. It's out there. I mean, the Aflac program that we offer at a discounted rate at Salon Republic, There's definitely some people who don't want to be part of it, and they don't
Wow.
see the benefit of it. Sure.
Well,
There's
they're
plenty of
young
people. I mean,
because they're young
well, maybe
and they're
they
invincible
are.
right now, but they don't realize, oh, you're going to need to go to the doctor. Oh, you're going to have,
Maybe
I
that's
had
true.
disability at one point. I have Affleck and I needed,
Hmm.
because I had it at my salon and I actually signed up. I'm the only one that still has it. You know what I mean? Everybody else let theirs go. I have mine. But it's really that's the thing. I think there's also so much business things that hairstylists, it should be in cosmetology, they should have business courses to go along with being the cosmetology, because when you have a business frame of mind, I think you do things differently. Because being having, even if you have a chair at Salon Republic, it is a business and a brand, and you have to run it. So, especially if you're working, because that's a rental situation. If you're working under a brand and under a business at a salon who has a brand in the business, that's one thing. But if you are your own doing it, it's still a business and a brand. You got to understand. Now I've got to look at everything. I've got to take on the responsibility of my insurances, everything, my retirement, everything. And so I think that they should have business courses along with cosmetology, so that hairstyle, because I had to learn this stuff and pay a ton of money to learn how to figure that out, because I had a business, right? But I do feel it's kind of sad to see that. I don't know why people aren't taking advantage of that, because that is really
Yeah.
going to help a ton of hairstylists. And I think that with the younger generation, you may have to approach them in a different way. And that all goes back to social media, and how to educate. Yeah,
Yeah.
people don't read emails, but maybe if there's an announcement, I don't know if they have a social page. I'm pretty sure that they do,
Of course.
but
Sure.
maybe they might need influencers to help
They
bring
do.
people, because
They use
I feel
influencers.
like it's important. They do.
It
Wow,
is so important.
and
It's
that
so
didn't
important.
work.
I think what it boils down to is that there are these opportunities out there. There are options and opportunities that a beauty professional can choose to take advantage of or choose not to take advantage of. And I think what we're getting down to is, what's the difference between a beauty professional who does better in their career versus some who struggle in their career. And I think it literally boils down to those little micro decisions. Do they take advantage of the resources that are out there begging them to take advantage of? Right, and this is everything in the industry. I mean, it's podcasts. And I'm not just saying have to listen to our podcast, but there's other podcasts out there who talk about business. Are people listening and absorbing and implementing, this great advice from successful people like Kim, or are they not listening and are not implementing these things? And I think that really boils down to just this is just so fundamental. Some people are going to do well, and some people are not going to do well. And that's what it boils down to. It's individual choices. Now, when it comes to going back to the union conversation, this is very interesting, and this will kind of, I just want to say one thing. And I think the main difference between the union that is part of the entertainment industry is that there are certain requirements that the production companies, agree to, like pay, right? So the idea is that you, Kim, if you're in the union, then there is a restriction in the entertainment industry that only the union can be the one to provide these certain services on a production. Okay, and then the production companies agree to pay the union in a certain amount of money, which is probably much higher than if there wasn't a union, right? In the hair industry at large, you have little tiny microtransactions. You've got haircuts. Everybody in the country that has hair is getting their haircut just about, or colored, and whatever other services that they're getting. There's hundreds of millions of services per year, little micro things. Those can't be governed, and there can't be a price imposed, a high price imposed on those the same way that these services can be imposed upon the entertainment industry. And that's kind of the bottom line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of the main difference. That's kind of the main. But anyway, it's a very interesting conversation. You and I, it seems like we could have a whole new podcast just on unions and organizations and associations in the hair industry. Maybe next time.
Yes. Yes.
And do you have any hair horror stories for us? Like, it could have been on a set, or it could have been in the salon. Anything go horribly wrong?
Oh, yes. I remember, well, I'm going to take some people, these people probably on this podcast too young to remember, but I remember, I'll tell you one in the salon. Now, luckily it wasn't a client that I was doing, thank God,
of course
but
not.
There was a stylist next to me, and I remember there was a thing back in the day called Rio, and it was like some product they put on people's hair and it would straighten their hair. You could eat it and all this stuff. It was like, oh, this natural product to straighten hair. It blew up and went crazy. And I remember I looked at that and I said, I don't trust that. I don't trust that because there's just certain things you can't straighten hair unless it's a chemical. I just don't understand what they're talking about. But I never got into it, thank God. But there was this person next to me and she was doing this woman's hair and she needed to get her hair colored. And I always I always got to go back to beauty college fundamentals. I always do when they're new clients. I want to do a patch test, at least maybe a strand test. You know what I mean? So this woman comes in, gets her hair colored, and she says, "Oh, I don't have any chemicals in my hair," because the stylist asked, and she said no, but she started coloring that woman's hair, and I've never seen anybody go clean bald from putting a color in someone's hair. And she clearly had gotten Rio. After she asked her many questions, she had that product on her hair, which of course, it started falling apart after that. People stopped buying the product because then they realized, it's like not what they said it was.
Right.
But and so clearly it wasn't. The woman's hair came off, and I've never seen anybody's hair just go clean bald. And she was crying. God. Everybody was crying, and it was pretty horrific. Yeah. Listen, I've seen brushes. I saw another person. It wasn't me, thank God. Round brushing someone's hair, and the brush got tangled in their hair, and they couldn't get the brush out.
Oh God.
It was like, yeah, I have had my share of hair trauma. I would say that I've seen. I haven't had any of those because I was one of those people. I didn't want to take those kind of chances. I tested people's hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart. Very smart.
I think the worst thing that did happen to me, and I was doing my cousin's hair, and we colored her hair. I was just kind of learning how to color. I brightened up her hair, like bleached it up, and I deposited a color on there, but I didn't understand that this was not a color that was going to come up the color I thought it was. And it came out bright red, but it became like the style. So but she liked it. It came out like bright red, like orange red, and she thought it was fantastic. But I thought it was not what I was expecting. This is a disaster. So those are my disaster stories.
That's the creative process.
Yes.
Awesome, Kim. Thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation. For the listeners, she's Kimble Hair Care. Kimble hair care on Instagram. Shopkimkimble.com. Thank you so much. Dropping so many nuggets today.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm a talker.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much.